My name is Becky, I'm 32 years old, and I was standing on the balcony of a five-star resort in Cancun when I heard my mother's voice drift through the open door. Don't worry about the cost, Janet. Becky's our little cash cow. She'll pay for everything like she always does. My blood turned to ice. After 10 years of funding my family's every whim, those words hit me like a sledgehammer. That was the moment I decided this vacation would be their last on my dime. Before I share what happened next, where are you watching from today? If you've ever felt taken advantage of by family, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about standing up for yourself. This is going to be a wild ride, so grab a drink and settle in, because what my family did after I cut them off will absolutely blow your mind. I need to take you back to understand how I became my family's personal ATM. Fresh out of college at 22, I landed my first real job as a junior marketing coordinator. The salary wasn't huge, but to someone who'd lived on ramen and hope for 4 years, it felt like winning the lottery. That first paycheck was supposed to be special. Maybe I'd buy myself something nice or start that emergency fund everyone talks about. Instead, I got a call from Mom. "Sweetie, I hate to ask, but your father's hours got cut at the plant. We're just a little short on the mortgage this month." Her voice had that perfect blend of desperation and maternal warmth that I'd later recognize as manipulation. Of course I helped. It was just $500, and they'd paid for my life for 18 years, right? That's what family does. But temporary turned into permanent faster than you can say financial boundary. Dad's hours never seemed to improve. Then came Tyler, my older brother, with his endless parade of business ventures. First it was the food truck that never got off the ground. I invested $3,000. Then the online store that somehow needed $10,000 in startup costs. "I'll pay you back with interest, Becky. This one's guaranteed." Spoiler alert, it wasn't. Madison, my younger sister, joined the party when her divorce hit. The lawyer says I need $15,000 for the retainer. I can't let him get away with hiding assets. Think of the kids, Becky. How could I say no to my niece and nephew's future? The guilt would have eaten me alive, or at least that's what I told myself while writing another check. Family dinners became strategy sessions for extracting money from my wallet. They'd pass around their phones, showing me bills, notices, opportunities that just needed a little investment. "Becky's got it covered" became the family motto. Mom would beam with pride. Our successful daughter, always so generous. The praise felt good, I won't lie. Being needed felt like being loved. What they didn't see were my 70-hour work weeks, the promotions I chased desperately to keep up with their demands. By 28, I'd made senior marketing manager, and my salary had tripled since that first job. Guess what else tripled? Their requests. Mom needed a new car because hers was embarrassing. Dad wanted to renovate the garage into a workshop. Tyler's latest scheme required $20,000 this time, but he swore this was the big one. I started keeping a spreadsheet, hidden away like some shameful secret. The numbers made me sick. In 10 years, I'd given them over $200,000. Not loans. Gifts. Because family doesn't keep tabs, right? Wrong. I kept every receipt, every bank transfer, every cash withdrawal. Part of me knew something was off, but I pushed that feeling down with work and the next family crisis. Mom had perfected her manipulation tactics by then. If I hesitated, she'd launch into stories about sacrificing her career to raise us, about Dad working double shifts to put food on the table. "We never asked you to pay us back for raising you," she'd say, her eyes misty with calculated tears. "But now that we need help, I guess we know where we stand." Dad played his role perfectly too. The quiet enabler who'd pat my shoulder and whisper, "You know how your mother gets." It would mean so much to her. He never asked for anything directly, but he'd mention how tired he looked, how his back hurt from working, how nice it must be to have a desk job like mine. The guilt trips were subtle but effective. Looking back, I can see the pattern so clearly. Every raise I got triggered a new family emergency. Every bonus I earned coincided with someone's urgent need. They had my pay schedule memorized better than I did. But sitting in that resort, hearing those words cash cow, everything clicked into place. I wasn't their daughter. I was their bank account with a pulse. The vacation idea came from Mom, pitched as her brilliant solution to our growing apart. She'd called me one evening in March, voice dripping with concern. "Becky, honey, when's the last time we all spent quality time together? Real time, not just those rushed dinners where you're checking your phone." The accusation stung because it was partially true. I had been pulling away, unconsciously protecting myself. "I was thinking," she continued, "what if we did a family vacation? Somewhere warm and beautiful where we can just be together. Reconnect. Like we used to when you kids were small." The nostalgia card, perfectly played. She painted a picture of beach walks and family game nights, of bonds renewed and memories created. By the time she finished, I was already opening my laptop to check travel sites. "Of course, we'd need you to handle the booking, sweetie. You're so good with all that online stuff, and you have those credit card points, right?" There it was. The ask wrapped in a compliment, delivered so smoothly I barely noticed. Within an hour, I'd booked 5 seats to Cancun, reserved rooms at an all-inclusive resort, and arranged airport transfers. The total made me wince, but Mom's joy when I sent the confirmation emails almost made it worth it. Tyler's response was predictable. "Just 5 days? I mean, if we're going all that way, shouldn't we make it a week at least? And hey, is it cool if Brittany comes? I'll pay you back for her ticket." Brittany was girlfriend number 12 this year, and we both knew that payback would never materialize. But I modified the reservation, added another room, extended our stay. What's another few thousand when you're already in this deep? Madison had her own additions. "The kids need passports expedited. Can you handle that? And they'll need new swimsuits, sunscreen, the good kind. Oh, and Lucas gets seasick, so maybe book us rooms away from the water?" Each request came with its own sob story, its own reason why I needed to solve it. By the time we landed in Cancun, I'd spent close to $15,000. The resort exceeded expectations, which should have been my first warning. Nothing ever goes smoothly with my family. But as we checked in, everyone seemed genuinely happy. Then the upgrades started. "Oh Becky, they have swim-up suites available. Wouldn't that be amazing?" Mom's eyes sparkled with desire as the desk clerk mentioned the additional cost. Of course I upgraded their room. And Tyler's. And Madison wanted a kids' club package for her children. The first dinner set the tone for the week. Despite the all-inclusive nature of the resort, my family found every possible upcharge. Premium wines, special menu items, private cabana rentals. Tyler ordered bottles of champagne like we were celebrating something besides my financial destruction. Madison insisted on the seafood tower that somehow wasn't covered. Dad just smiled and raised his glass. To Becky, making all this possible. By day 3, they were planning next year's vacation. "I'm thinking Europe," Mom mused over her third mimosa at breakfast. "Paris, Rome, maybe a river cruise. Wouldn't that be wonderful, Becky?" They discussed it like I was their travel agent, not their daughter. Tyler suggested Japan. Madison wanted Disney World for the kids. Each destination came with excited chatter about what I could book for them. The resort spa became Mom's second home. Every morning, she'd float off for another treatment, always charging it to our room. "You don't mind, do you, sweetie? This is exactly what I needed." The bills stacked up like accusations on my account. Facials, massages, some crystal healing session that cost more than most people's car payments. She'd return glowing, refreshed, ready to spend more of my money. Tyler and Brittany treated the vacation like their personal honeymoon, disappearing for private excursions and couples activities that mysteriously appeared on my bill. Jet ski rentals, private dining on the beach, a sunset sailing trip that cost $2,000. Thanks, sis, he'd say with a wink. Brittany's never experienced anything like this. Neither had my bank account. The moment before everything changed was almost peaceful. I'd escaped to our suite's balcony, needing air and distance from my family's endless consumption. The ocean stretched endlessly, and for a moment, I felt something like peace. Then Mom's voice drifted through the sliding door, clear as day. She must have thought I was still at the pool. Janet, you wouldn't believe this place. 5 stars, private beach, spa treatments every day. Becky really outdid herself this time. Her laugh was light, carefree. Don't worry about the cost. Becky's our little cash cow. She'll pay for everything like she always does. You should see the suite she got us. I swear that girl works just to keep us comfortable. Who needs retirement savings when you've got a daughter like mine? The words hit me like physical blows. Cash cow. That's all I was to her. Not her successful daughter, not her pride and joy. Just a resource to be milked. I stood frozen as she continued. Oh, you're asking about her love life? Who has time? She works constantly to support our lifestyle. I make sure she stays too busy for dating. Can't have some man coming in and messing up our arrangement. My arrangement. Like I was a business deal she'd negotiated. The rage that flooded through me was pure and cleansing. 10 years of suppressed frustration, of ignored boundaries, of financial abuse disguised as family love crystallized into one moment of perfect clarity. I was done being their cash cow. This vacation was about to end very differently than they expected. I stepped through the sliding door with the calm of someone who'd finally found their breaking point. Mom was lounging on the suite's plush sofa, phone pressed to her ear, still laughing at her own cleverness. When she saw me, her face went through a series of expressions that would have been comical if my heart wasn't shattering. Surprise, fear, then quickly rearranged into false confusion. Janet, I'll call you back. She hung up with shaking fingers. Becky. I thought you were at the pool. How long have you been standing there? Her voice pitched higher with each word, a tell I'd ignored for too many years. I walked to the mini bar, poured myself a water with steady hands, and sat across from her. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Cash cow. I let the words hang in the air. That's what you called me. Your cash cow. She opened her mouth, probably to deny it, but I raised my hand. Don't. Just don't. I heard everything, Mom. Every single word about how I work to support your lifestyle, how you make sure I stay too busy for relationships. I heard it all. Sweetie, you're taking it out of context. It was just a joke, you know how I exaggerate with Janet. The gaslighting started immediately, but I was prepared. I pulled out my phone, opened the spreadsheet I'd maintained for years. $237,000, Mom. That's what I've given this family in 10 years. Not loans. Gifts. Because every time I asked about repayment, you'd cry about how family doesn't keep score. Her face cycled through emotions again, landing on indignation. We raised you. We fed you, clothed you, put a roof over your head for 18 years. We never asked for repayment for that. There it was, the classic manipulation, but it felt hollow now. No, Mom. That was your job as a parent. That was your choice to have children. You don't get to hold basic parenting over my head forever. The suite door burst open. Tyler had arrived, probably summoned by some silent family alarm system. What's going on? Mom texted saying you were upset? He looked between us, already choosing sides. Behind him, Madison appeared with her kids, using them as shields. Dad shuffled in last, looking uncomfortable but saying nothing as usual. I'm done. The words came out stronger than I felt. This vacation is over. I'm canceling the remaining reservations, booking myself a flight home tonight. You'll need to figure out your own way back. The explosion was immediate. Tyler's face went red. Are you seriously throwing a tantrum right now? Over what? Money? That's all you care about? Funny coming from someone who owes me $30,000 in failed business ventures. I pulled up my banking app, showing the endless transfers to his accounts. The food truck, the online store, the cryptocurrency disaster, that multi-level marketing scheme you swore was different. Should I continue? His girlfriend Brittany's eyes widened with each revelation, clearly unaware of his financial history. Madison clutched her pearls, literally. Becky, think of the children. You can't just abandon us here. What kind of aunt does that? She pushed her kids forward slightly, their confused faces making my heart ache. But I stood firm. The kind who's been paying for their private school, their tutors, their camp, and apparently now their vacation while their mother claims poverty in court documents. That's different, she shrieked. I'm protecting their future from their deadbeat father. The irony wasn't lost on me. By being a deadbeat yourself? By teaching them that Aunt Becky will always bail them out? What happens when I'm not around anymore, Madison? What's your plan then? Mom tried tears next. They came on cue, perfect streams down her cheeks. I can't believe my own daughter would speak to me this way. After everything I've sacrificed for you. I gave up my career to raise you children. I supported your dreams, encouraged your education. The performance was Oscar-worthy, but I'd seen it too many times. You encouraged my education because you saw dollar signs, Mom. Every push to succeed, every "you can do better" was about what I could eventually provide for you. I wasn't your daughter. I was your investment, and apparently, it paid off better than you ever imagined. The tears stopped as quickly as they started, replaced by something harder. Dad finally spoke. Now Becky, let's not say things we can't take back. Your mother loves you. We all do. This is just a misunderstanding. His diplomatic approach might have worked once, but not now. No, Dad. A misunderstanding is mixing up dinner plans. This is financial abuse, enabled by your silence and powered by guilt. Tyler stepped forward aggressively. You're really going to leave us stranded in Mexico? Over some comment Mom made? You're being dramatic and selfish. I laughed, actually laughed, at the absurdity. Selfish? I've funded your entire adult life, Tyler. Every failure, every scheme, every fresh start. The only selfish thing I've ever done is taking this vacation, and even that was for you. We never forced you to give us money. Madison joined the attack. You offered. You insisted. Now you want to throw it in our faces? The rewriting of history was spectacular. I offered because you manipulated me into offering. Because every conversation was a guilt trip, every family gathering a fundraiser with me as the only donor. Brittany, who'd been silent, finally spoke. Tyler, is this true? $30,000? He whirled on her. It's not like that, babe. It's complicated. Family stuff. She looked at me with something like understanding. Seems pretty simple from where I'm standing. I stood up, suddenly exhausted by the whole performance. I'm packing now. The resort is paid through tomorrow morning. After that, you're on your own. Your flights home are still booked for the original date, so you have 2 days to figure out where you're staying. The panic in their eyes was real now. Becky, please. Mom grabbed my arm. You can't do this. We don't have money for hotels. We don't have credit cards that work internationally. Please, sweetie, let's talk about this. But I was done talking. 10 years of talking had gotten me here. I shook off her grip and headed for my room. My phone started exploding before I even finished packing. The family group chat, usually reserved for birthday wishes and holiday planning, became a war zone. Tyler fired the first shot. Becky's lost her mind. She's abandoning us in Mexico because Mom made a joke she didn't like. The message was quickly followed by Madison's dramatic plea. Someone please talk sense into her. My babies are scared and confused. Then came the extended family. Grandma, who hadn't texted in the group chat in 2 years, suddenly found her voice. Becky Marie, what is this I'm hearing about you leaving your family stranded? This is not how you were raised. Aunts and uncles piled on, each adding their own flavor of guilt and condemnation. The notifications came so fast my phone froze twice. Cousin Amy was the first to defend me. Maybe we should hear Becky's side before jumping to conclusions. She was immediately attacked by Mom's sisters. What side? She's abandoning her parents and siblings in a foreign country. There's no excuse for such disrespect. The battle lines were drawn quickly. Team family loyalty versus team maybe there's more to this story. I switched to airplane mode to finish packing in peace, but the damage was spreading across other platforms. By the time I turned my phone back on at the airport, Tyler had taken the war public. His Facebook post was a masterpiece of manipulation. Some people forget where they come from when they get a little success. Money changes people, turns them cold. Praying for my sister to remember what family means. The comments section was divided chaos. Old family friends expressed shock. Not Becky. She was always such a sweet girl. But others were asking questions. Tyler, didn't she pay for the whole vacation though? His response was telling. That's not the point. Family isn't about keeping score. Funny how scorekeeping only mattered when I did it. Aunt Janet, Mom's phone confidant, reached out privately. Honey, I want you to know I told your mother she was wrong to talk about you that way. I've watched this situation for years, and while I love my sister, she's been taking advantage. Her message was followed by screenshots that made my stomach turn. Years of messages from Mom, bragging about my latest payment, planning how to extract more, laughing about keeping me too busy for dating. Look at this one, Janet had highlighted a message from 3 years ago. Becky just got promoted. Time to have that kitchen emergency we discussed. Another from last year. If I cry enough about your father's health, she'll pay for the cruise. Watch and learn, sister. The premeditation was sickening. Every emergency had been orchestrated, every crisis carefully timed. Uncle Pete, Dad's brother, called while I was boarding. Becky, I'm proud of you. Your parents did the same thing to me 20 years ago. I had to cut them off when they demanded I mortgage my house for another one of Tyler's schemes. They called me selfish too. Stand your ground, kiddo. His support meant everything, but it also revealed a pattern I'd been blind to. Back home, I focused on damage control. First stop, the bank. The account review revealed more than I wanted to know. Regular transfers I hadn't authorized, signatures that looked like mine but weren't. The credit check was worse. Mom had opened 3 credit cards in my name, maxed them out, and been making minimum payments to keep them from collections. The fraud department representative looked sympathetic as I filed report after report. This is more common than you'd think, she said gently. Family financial fraud often goes unreported because of exactly what you're experiencing. The guilt, the public shaming, the manipulation. You're brave for taking these steps. Brave felt like the wrong word. I felt stupid for not seeing it sooner, weak for letting it continue, angry at myself as much as them. The therapy appointment I'd booked months ago but kept canceling suddenly became priority 1. Dr. Williams listened without judgment as I word-vomited 10 years of financial abuse. You were conditioned from a young age to equate giving with love, she explained. Your family weaponized normal feelings of gratitude and obligation. This isn't your fault, Becky. Tyler escalated his social media campaign. He posted photos from family gatherings, carefully cropped to show happy moments. Remember when family meant something? Before money mattered more than blood? Madison joined with her own posts, featuring her kids looking sad. Explaining to my babies why their aunt doesn't love them anymore. Heartbroken. The comments demanding my side of the story grew louder. I broke my silence with a simple post. No drama, no accusations, just numbers. Since people are asking, $237,000 in 10 years. 0 repaid. 3 fraudulent credit cards in my name. 1 vacation where I was called a cash cow. Sometimes love means saying no. I attached 2 screenshots, one of the family chat demanding money, another of Mom's message to Janet about keeping me too busy to date. The pivot in public opinion was swift. Comments flooded in from others who'd experienced similar situations. My brother did this to me for 15 years. Stay strong. I lost my whole family when I cut off the money train. The guilt trips never stop, but freedom feels amazing. Each story made me feel less alone, less crazy for protecting myself. Mom tried one last manipulation, calling from a Mexican hotel lobby. Becky, we're being kicked out. The kids are crying. Is this really what you want? Your nephew and niece homeless in a foreign country? I almost caved. Almost. Then I heard Tyler in the background coaching her. Tell her we might get kidnapped. Make it scary. The call ended with my finger pressing the block button. By the end of the week, the family divide was complete. Team Cash Cow, as I'd started thinking of them, had gained surprising members. Cousins who'd been silent for years reached out with their own stories of being targeted for money. My successful cousin David revealed he'd changed his phone number twice to escape the begging. They rotate through us, he explained. You were just the latest mark who hadn't learned to say no yet. 3 weeks into my new boundaries, Mom showed up at my office. The receptionist called up nervously. Ms. Becky? Your mother is here, and she seems upset. Understatement of the century. I could hear Mom's raised voice from the elevator, demanding to see her daughter, claiming family emergency. By the time I reached the lobby, she'd drawn a crowd. There she is. Mom pointed at me like I was a criminal in a lineup. The daughter who abandoned her family in Mexico. Who left her own mother stranded without money or help. The security guard looked between us uncertainly. My coworkers peered from doorways, smartphones probably already recording. This was her nuclear option, public humiliation at my workplace. Mom, this is neither the time nor the place. I kept my voice level, professional. Inside, I was mortified. Oh, now you care about appropriate? Was it appropriate to steal from your family? To leave us homeless? The lies flowed easily, each one designed for maximum damage. She'd dressed for the part too, clothes slightly disheveled, makeup smudged just enough to suggest distress. Tom from HR appeared at my elbow. Perhaps we should take this conversation somewhere private? But Mom wasn't interested in private. She wanted an audience. Private? Like how she privately planned to abandon us? No, everyone should know what kind of person Becky really is. A selfish, money-obsessed monster who forgot where she came from. The security guard finally intervened. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to leave. This is private property. Mom turned on him next. Private property my daughter pays for with money that should be helping her family. Did you know she makes 6 figures while her parents struggle? The overshare made everyone uncomfortable, exactly as she'd intended. I'll walk her out, I said quietly, desperate to end the scene. But Mom had one more card to play. As we reached the door, she collapsed dramatically, clutching her chest. My heart. The stress. Becky, please, I need a doctor. For a split second, panic flared. Then I saw her peek through her fingers to gauge my reaction. The security guard was already calling 911, protocol demanding he take any medical complaint seriously. The paramedics arrived to find Mom's vitals perfectly normal. Ma'am, your heart rate and blood pressure are fine. Are you experiencing any actual chest pain? She deflated, caught in her performance. It must have passed. The stress of being betrayed by your own child, you understand. The paramedic's expression suggested he understood perfectly, just not the way she intended. My boss, Linda, pulled me aside the next day. "Becky, I want you to know that yesterday's incident doesn't reflect on you. We've actually had our security team review the footage, and they're recommending you file for a restraining order. This won't be held against you here." Her support was unexpected but deeply appreciated. "Whatever you need to feel safe at work, we'll accommodate." Tyler's online campaign reached new lows. He created a fake GoFundMe titled "Family Abandoned in Mexico by Millionaire Sister." The description was fiction worthy of a soap opera. According to him, I'd lured them on vacation just to humiliate them, planned the whole thing as revenge for imagined childhood slights. He claimed they'd been forced to beg strangers for food and sleep on the beach. The GoFundMe backfired spectacularly. People started fact-checking his claims. Someone found the resort's social media posts featuring my family, timestamps showing they'd stayed the full week. Another person noted that international flights can be changed for a fee, questioning why a family with successful adult children needed crowdfunding. The page was removed within 48 hours, but screenshots lived forever. Madison tried emotional warfare, sending photos of her kids holding signs saying "We miss Aunt Becky" to my work email. When that didn't work, she escalated to showing up at my gym. "Becky! What a coincidence." She'd clearly stalked my routine. Her kids were with her, looking uncomfortable as she loudly explained to them why Aunt Becky was too busy with money to love them anymore. I kept my workout short, but she followed me to the parking lot. "The kids have been asking about you. Lucas drew you a picture." She thrust a crayon drawing at me, probably drawn an hour ago for this exact manipulation. "Madison, using your children as weapons is exactly why I had to set boundaries. This isn't healthy for them or you." "Healthy?" She laughed bitterly. "You know what's not healthy? My kids losing their after-school programs because their aunt decided to be petty. They're suffering because of your selfishness. The guilt trip might have worked before. Now I saw it clearly. No, Madison. They're suffering because their mother refuses to get a full-time job and budget responsibly. That's not my responsibility." Dad's email arrived at midnight, 2 weeks after the confrontation. 12 pages of guilt, manipulation, and rewrites of history. He painted himself as the victim caught between his wife and daughter, conveniently forgetting his role in enabling the financial abuse. "Your mother may have her faults, but she loves you. Isn't that worth more than money?" The irony of him asking me to value love over money while they valued my money over everything else wasn't lost. My best friend Emma became my shield and sanity checker. She screened my messages, helped me find a new apartment in a building with better security, and came to the lawyer's appointment for the restraining order filing. "You know what the craziest part is," she said over wine one night. "They're spending more energy fighting to get you back as their cash cow than they ever spent on actually working for money themselves." She was right. The effort they put into stalking, harassing, and manipulating me could have been channeled into jobs, side hustles, anything productive. But they'd grown too comfortable with their arrangement. Working was for other people. They had me, or so they'd thought. Emma helped me see the humor in their desperation, even as we installed security cameras at my new place. The restraining order paperwork was overwhelming. Documenting 10 years of financial abuse, the recent harassment, the fraud, it all looked so stark on paper. The lawyer, recommended by my company, was blunt. "This is one of the clearer cases I've seen. The credit card fraud alone is enough, but the workplace harassment sealed it. They'll likely contest it, but I'm confident it'll be granted." She was right about them contesting. They hired a lawyer, probably with money borrowed from another relative, to paint me as an unhinged daughter punishing her loving family for a misunderstanding. But evidence is hard to argue with. Bank records, screenshots, security footage, and witness testimonies painted a different picture. The judge granted the temporary order immediately, with a full hearing scheduled for the next month. The order meant they couldn't contact me directly, but it didn't stop the flying monkeys. Relatives I hadn't heard from in years suddenly needed to share their opinions. Church friends sent Bible verses about honoring thy father and mother. High school acquaintances reached out to ask if the family's Facebook posts were true. Each message required a decision to engage or ignore, to defend or let go. I chose strategic silence for most, but created a template response for the persistent ones. I appreciate your concern. For legal reasons, I can't discuss the situation in detail, but I encourage you to consider that there are always two sides to every story. I've chosen to protect my financial and mental health after years of documented abuse. I hope you can respect that decision even if you don't understand it. 3 months after Cancun, the family's house of cards began collapsing. A cousin forwarded me a screenshot from the extended family chat I'd been removed from. Mom was asking for temporary help with their mortgage. Just until things stabilize, she wrote. We've had some unexpected expenses. The responses were telling. Silence from most, and from Uncle Pete. Didn't Becky pay off your mortgage last year? The truth emerged slowly. Without my monthly infusions, they couldn't maintain their lifestyle. The mortgage I'd paid off? They'd taken out a home equity loan for Tyler's latest venture, a crypto investment that went bust. Their cars were being repossessed one by one. Dad's workshop renovation sat half-finished, tools sold to cover daily expenses. The House of Lies needed constant cash to stay standing. Tyler's business bankruptcy made the local news. Local entrepreneur files Chapter 7 after failed ventures. The article mentioned his string of failed businesses, funded by private investors. I knew exactly who those investors were, or rather, investor, singular. Brittany had left him 2 weeks after Mexico, taking to Instagram to share her own story about discovering her boyfriend was a serial failure living off his sister. Madison's situation imploded differently. Her ex-husband's lawyer subpoenaed her financial records for their ongoing custody battle. Suddenly, years of claiming poverty while depositing my checks came to light. The judge was not amused. Ms. Madison, you've been receiving substantial financial support while claiming inability to provide for your children. This appears to be fraud. Her partial custody became supervised visits, the kids going to live with their father full-time. The family barbecue revelation came through cousin Amy, who'd been recording on her phone when she thought Mom was about to share a funny story. Instead, Mom had bragged about training me to give money from childhood. You have to start young, she'd advised another aunt. Little things first. Make them feel special for helping. By the time Becky was in college, she'd offer before I had to ask. It's all about conditioning. The video went viral in our extended family network. Amy sent it to me with a simple message, I'm so sorry. We should have seen this. The recording showed Mom laughing as she detailed manipulation tactics, referring to me as her little ATM and advising others on how to identify which child would be the best financial target. Look for the people pleaser, she counseled. The one who needs approval. That's your goldmine. My blog started as therapy homework. Dr. Williams suggested writing about my experiences to process them. I posted anonymously at first, just needing to get the words out. The cost of being a cash cow. My story of family financial abuse. Within a week, it had thousands of views and hundreds of comments from people sharing similar experiences. The patterns were horrifyingly consistent. I expanded the blog, adding resources for identifying financial abuse, setting boundaries, and recovering financially and emotionally. Guest posts poured in. A lawyer wrote about the legal aspects. A therapist contributed pieces on trauma and healing. A financial advisor offered guidance on protecting assets from manipulative family members. What started as personal catharsis became a community. The publisher reached out after a viral post about the Mexico incident. Your story resonates with millions of people trapped in similar situations. Would you consider expanding this into a book? 6 months earlier, I would have said no, fearing family backlash. Now, I signed the contract without hesitation. The advance was more than I'd given Tyler for his food truck, irony that wasn't lost on me. Grandma's apology letter arrived on a Tuesday, handwritten on her formal stationery. Dear Becky, I've lived 83 years, and I'm ashamed it took me this long to see clearly. Your mother is my daughter, and I love her, but I failed her by enabling her behavior. I failed you by not protecting you from it. I'm sorry. She included a check, returning money I'd given her over the years for house repairs that, she admitted, were never as urgent as presented. Other relatives began sharing their stories. Uncle Pete revealed that my parents had borrowed $50,000 from him in the 80s for a business opportunity that never materialized. Cousin David had been funding Dad's workshop tools for years, thinking they were loans. Aunt Susan had paid for Mom's car, told it was temporary until insurance came through for an accident that never happened. The pattern stretched back decades. The support group I joined introduced me to the concept of financial scapegoating. One member explained, in dysfunctional families, one person often becomes the designated provider. The family system reorganizes around extracting resources from this person while simultaneously devaluing them. It's abuse, full stop. Hearing my experience validated by strangers who'd lived it helped more than any family apology could. My book release coincided with the final restraining order hearing. The judge made it permanent after reviewing evidence of continued harassment through third parties, the credit fraud, and what he termed a clear pattern of financial exploitation and emotional abuse. My family sat across the courtroom, looking smaller somehow. Without their power over me, they'd shrunk to actual size. The book tour felt like a victory lap. Every city brought new stories, new connections with people who'd been cash cows for their own families. Your book gave me permission to say no, one woman told me through tears. I showed it to my husband, and he finally understood why I couldn't keep funding my brother's lifestyle. These moments made every hard day worth it. A year later, the landscape had shifted completely. Tyler worked at a call center, his dreams of entrepreneurship temporarily shelved. Madison had gotten a job as a receptionist, forced into the workforce she'd avoided for so long. Mom and Dad downsized to a small apartment, their house lost to the equity loan. The lifestyle they'd built on my labor had evaporated like morning mist. I monitored their situation through the family grapevine, maintaining my boundaries while ensuring they weren't genuinely destitute. They were struggling but surviving, experiencing for the first time what it meant to live within actual means. Part of me felt guilty watching their fall. Dr. Williams reminded me that guilt was just another form of the conditioning I was working to overcome. 1 year after Cancun, I stood in my new condo, boxes still scattered around, sunlight streaming through windows I'd chosen myself. The space was modest compared to what I could afford, but it was mine, bought with money that hadn't been siphoned off to fund someone else's dreams. My savings account, once perpetually drained, now held 6 months of expenses. The security felt surreal. James knocked on the door, arms full of housewarming gifts from our shared friends. We'd met at a financial literacy workshop where I was speaking. He'd approached afterward, not to share his own cash cow story, but to thank me for helping his sister escape a similar situation. Our friendship evolved slowly into something more, built on mutual respect and, importantly, healthy boundaries. "You sure you're ready for this?" he asked, setting down a bottle of champagne. Tonight was my housewarming party, but tomorrow was the meeting. My parents had reached out through their lawyer, requesting a conversation. After months of therapy and reflection, I'd agreed to one coffee meeting, in public, with clear parameters. James knew how much this decision had cost me. The coffee shop was neutral territory, busy enough to prevent scenes but quiet enough to talk. They looked older, worn down by the reality of self-sufficiency. Mom's designer clothes had been replaced by department store finds. Dad's face showed the strain of actually working full days at his age. They sat across from me like strangers, which in many ways, they were. "Thank you for coming," Mom started, her voice missing its usual performative quality. "We know you didn't have to." I waited, letting silence do the work Dr. Williams had taught me. Dad cleared his throat. Becky, we've had a lot of time to think. To see things differently. He struggled and used to emotional honesty. We were wrong. Not just about the money, but about everything. We treated you like a resource, not a daughter, Mom admitted, the words seemingly painful to say. I've been seeing a therapist, trying to understand why. It doesn't excuse it, but my parents did similar things to me. I thought I was teaching you to be successful, but I was just repeating patterns. The revelation wasn't surprising, but hearing her acknowledge it felt significant. I appreciate you saying that, I replied carefully. But apologies don't erase a decade of financial abuse. They don't undo the credit fraud or the public humiliation you put me through when I set boundaries. Mom flinched at fraud, but didn't deny it. Progress, perhaps. What exactly are you hoping to achieve with this meeting? Dad leaned forward. We'd like a chance to have some kind of relationship with you. Not asking for money, not expecting anything except maybe occasional contact. We understand if you say no. The request hung between us, heavy with history and hurt. I'd prepared for manipulation, not this apparent sincerity. Though I remained cautious, knowing how easily they could slip back into old patterns. I'm willing to consider limited contact with very specific boundaries, I said finally. No discussions of money, ever. No guilt trips about family obligations. No showing up at my work or home. We meet in public places, when I'm comfortable. Any violation, and we're done permanently. They nodded quickly, too quickly. Only time would tell if they truly understood. Tyler remained bitter, posting passive-aggressive memes about family loyalty and success-changing people. But Madison had sent a genuine letter 6 months ago, taking responsibility for her actions. She'd included recent photos of her kids, who were thriving with their father. I'm in therapy too, she'd written. Learning to stand on my own feet at 35 is humbling, but necessary. I hope someday we can talk. The meeting ended with awkward goodbyes and no physical contact. I walked away feeling lighter but wary. Change was possible, but trust would take years to rebuild, if ever. James met me outside, having waited in his car like we'd planned. How did it go? He asked, reading my face expertly. Better than expected, which makes me more suspicious than if it had gone badly, I admitted. My book's success had led to speaking engagements across the country. Each event brought new stories, creating a community of former cash cows supporting each other. The financial literacy component I'd added helped people protect themselves while healing. Boundaries aren't walls, I told audiences. They're gates. You decide who comes in and under what circumstances. The podcast launched 6 months later, featuring interviews with therapists, financial advisors, and survivors. The episode with Aunt Janet was particularly powerful. She revealed how she'd watched my grooming from childhood, the guilt she carried for not intervening sooner. I told myself it wasn't my business, she said tearfully. But watching a child be programmed to give away their future is everyone's business. Thanksgiving arrived with its own challenges. For the first time in my life, I hosted my own dinner. My chosen family gathered around the table, James, Emma, colleagues who'd become friends, and surprisingly, Uncle Pete and Cousin Amy. We'd formed our own tradition, free from obligation and manipulation. The empty chairs my biological family would have occupied felt like freedom, not loss. What are you thankful for? Emma asked, starting our new tradition of genuine gratitude, not performed happiness. When my turn came, I raised my glass. I'm thankful for the word no, for discovering that love doesn't require bankruptcy, that family isn't defined by blood or obligations. I'm grateful for every person here who showed me what healthy relationships look like. My phone buzzed with a message from Mom. Happy Thanksgiving, sweetheart. We're respecting your boundaries but wanted you to know we're thinking of you. I showed it to James, who squeezed my hand. Progress? He asked. Maybe, I replied, then put the phone away. Today wasn't about them or their journey. It was about the life I'd built from the ashes of financial abuse. The text from my accountant the next morning made me smile. My net worth had increased more in 1 year than in the previous 5 combined. Without the constant drain, my finances flourished. But more importantly, my peace of mind had returned. No more anxiety when the phone rang, no more dread at family gatherings, no more mental calculations of how much each interaction would cost. Dr. Williams had warned me about anniversary reactions. Sure enough, as the Cancun trip anniversary approached, anxiety crept in. But instead of family drama, this year brought a different kind of trip. James and I boarded a plane to Europe, the vacation my family had been planning to take on my dime. Except this time, we split everything equally, 2 adults sharing experiences rather than one funding everyone's dreams. Standing at the Eiffel Tower, I thought about Mom's voice that day. Cash cow. The words that had shattered my world now felt like a gift. Without overhearing that conversation, I might have spent another decade, maybe a lifetime, funding their lives while mine passed by. The pain had been real, but so was the freedom that followed. Some gifts come wrapped in barbed wire. The speaking engagement in Cancun was pure coincidence, or maybe cosmic justice. 2 years after everything changed, I returned to give a keynote at a financial wellness conference. The resort was different, but the memories lingered. This time, I walked the beach alone at sunset, no family drama, no credit cards maxed out, just peace and the sound of waves. My speech that night focused on transformation. Financial abuse thrives in silence and shame. When we share our stories, we light the way for others trapped in similar situations. Your bank account is not a measure of your love. Your credit score is not a reflection of your family loyalty. You are not selfish for protecting your future. You are not cruel for demanding respect. You are not a cash cow. You are a person deserving of financial freedom and genuine relationships. The standing ovation felt like closure. Emails flooded in afterward from attendees ready to set their own boundaries, to stop enabling family members who'd made their success into a personal ATM. Each message reinforced that sharing my pain had purpose. The cash cow had become a catalyst for change, and that transformation was worth every lost relationship and sleepless night. As I boarded the plane home, my phone showed a deposit notification. Book royalties, speaking fees, podcast sponsorships, all money earned from turning pain into purpose. The irony wasn't lost on me. By refusing to be my family's cash cow, I'd become genuinely successful. By setting boundaries, I'd created abundance. By saying no to manipulation, I'd said yes to myself. The final thought as the plane lifted off was simple but profound. Some gifts are priceless, and peace is one of them. My family had given me an expensive education in boundaries, manipulation, and self-worth. The tuition had been $237,000 and 10 years of my life, but the degree I'd earned in self-respect was invaluable. As Cancun disappeared below the clouds, I smiled. The cash cow was finally, truly free. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey today. If my story resonated with you, if you've ever felt like your family's personal ATM, I want you to know you're not alone. Drop a comment below sharing your own experience with financial boundaries, whether with family, friends, or partners. What was your breaking point? How did you find the strength to say no? Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If this video helped you see your situation differently, please hit that like button. It really helps others find this content who might need it. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss more stories about standing up for yourself and breaking free from manipulation. And please, share this video with anyone you think might be trapped in their own cash cow situation. Sometimes seeing someone else's story is the wake-up call we need. Until next time, remember, your worth isn't measured in dollars given, but in the respect you demand and receive.